And a pleasant good evening from high atop Allen Fieldhouse. The Kansas JAYHAWKS have done something that this venerable old barn had never seen before tonight. Hard to believe there's something that Allen Fieldhouse has never before seen in its history. There are actually two things Allen Fieldhouse has never before seen in its history. It has never seen Bill Self lose a big Monday game. That's still true. But tonight, for the first time, Kansas beats number one at Allen Fieldhouse. They beat Arizona tonight, 82-78. They do it without Darryn Peterson, who it was announced would not play due to flu-like symptoms about an hour, maybe half an hour before game time tonight. They do it after playing from behind the entire first half, after falling behind early by double digits in the second half. They do it on an off shooting night for Melvin Council. They do it on an off night for Trey White. They do it because, well, sometimes stuff just happens here. Sometimes stuff just happens at Allen Fieldhouse. And this was a building win, if ever there was one. A night where this Allen Fieldhouse crowd understood the assignment and understood that their services as the sixth man were entirely necessary to help get KU over the line tonight. And the JAYHAWKS did it, withstood the challenge of playing the team I believe is the best in America, the Arizona Wildcats. The last remaining major conference unbeaten, the undisputed number one team in America. And Kansas finds the legs, finds the big shots, finds the big stops down the stretch. And they win it. 82-78. My name's Dan Lucero. As I mentioned, we are live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. We are live on Facebook, WIBW News, name of the page. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube and the Facebook if you like content like this, KU basketball content like this, or Kansas sports, not necessarily just Kansas JAYHAWKS, just Kansas sports in the state of Kansas. We got you covered on the YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk. So please subscribe. If you are watching live tonight, hop in the live chat on the YouTube channel or the comments on Facebook and say hello. Would love to hear your thoughts on this remarkable basketball game. I'll let Bill Self have the first word tonight. He told Brian Haney on the Jayhawk Sports Network postgame show that he did not think Allen Fieldhouse had ever been better than it was tonight. You think about how long Bill Self has been here. You think about how many times there have been big Monday games here. There have been big Saturday games, big any night games against great, great teams in the old Big 8 and in Bill Self's era, of course, the Big 12. You think about the stakes that some of these games have had. And this building, Bill Self said, was never better than it was tonight. It was remarkable. It was goosebump-inducing. Bill Self would go on to say to Brian Haney that maybe it wasn't the best game ever played in the history of Allen Fieldhouse, but it was the biggest win. And look, I'm no historian. I've only been covering the JAYHAWKS at WIBW since 2016. I can't claim to know or have been around for the entire history of Kansas basketball or the entire history of Bill Self's tenure. But if he says it's the biggest win in this building since he's been around, it's the biggest win in this building since he has been around. And the crowd deserves a ton of credit for that. They were incredible tonight. The big story before the game was Darryn Peterson not playing, as has too often been the case throughout his star-crossed freshman season. Apparently, Darryn Peterson tried to give it a go tonight, said that he could not due to flu-like symptoms. That was the official word from the JAYHAWKS. Peterson didn't appear on the bench. Don't know if he was at home. Don't know if he was receiving treatment back in the back. No idea. But Darryn Peterson did not play. And it was already going to be a really tall task to beat this Arizona team. I think they're number one with a bullet. I would pick them to win the national championship. I would still, after tonight, I would say what team I think is going to win the national championship. I would still say Arizona for a lot of the reasons that they put on display tonight. And Kansas went to battle as the underdog at home, which rarely happens, without the biggest stone in their bag to load in their slingshot to fire at the literal giants that these Arizona Wildcats bring to the table. But I will take a cue from Tommy Lloyd, the Arizona coach, who said in his post-game press conference, let's not make this about Darryn Peterson. And I agree. Let's not make this game about who wasn't there. Let's make this game about who was there. for Kansas. Melvin Council was there. And this was not a great night for Melvin Council. The stat sheet will tell you he had 6 of 25 shooting, 1 of 3 from 3. He was frustrated. He looked small against Arizona's big guards and had a lot of drives into the paint to nowhere where his shot would be sent packing by Krivas or one of the other Arizona bigs. It was a really tough night for Melvin Council to make things happen on a night when KU absolutely had to have him make things happen. But he found a way because, well, let him tell it. He's a dog. Dog's got bite. That dog is always going to bite. And Melvin Council, when it came to be winning time, when it came time for Kansas to have to make a run, he scored a fast break layup with about 11 minutes or 12 minutes to play in the game that kicked off a 17-5 run. Council had another fast break layup in that stretch that gave Kansas a 3-point lead, made a couple of free throws later on in that stretch, and then in the final minute of the game, hit a tough off-balance runner that got a friendly roll that made it a 6-point game again and went 3 for 4 at the free throw line down the stretch. Was not the best game of his KU career, wasn't particularly close, but he was 10 of 11 at the free throw line, handed out 6 assists, had 6 rebounds, never came off the floor. That's who Melvin Council is. He was there tonight. Flory Bidunga was there tonight, and if you didn't believe Bill Self when he said it about 2 weeks ago, believe him now, or just believe your eyes. That's the best defensive player in the country. That's the National Defensive Player of the Year. It was a tough night for him. It was always going to be a more physically demanding night for him, a more punishing night for him, because this was not a night where Bidunga could guard a big wing and play on the perimeter like he has been doing. He's guarded A.J. DeBonsa. He's guarded some other really good wings lately. He had to guard some guards. They've been putting him on the other team's best player. Arizona's too big for that. Kansas can't afford that. He had to guard the big man. He had to guard Motiagas Krivas. There was no choice. And early in the game, Krivas was giving him work. Krivas was getting to his spots. He was scoring. He had 6 early points. Krivas, really, he would be the story if Arizona had hung on to win this game, because he had a double-double, 14 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, and 6 block shots. He was incredible. Krivas is really, really good. And that physically pounding style that Arizona plays, getting the ball inside, going hard to the glass. They out-rebounded KU tonight, 45-41. They had 18 offensive rebounds. Kansas had 17. It was a tougher night defensively for Bidunga, but he hung in, gave as good as he got. And what got him going is when he packed it on Krivas to finish an alley-oop. That was an early part of that big 17-5 run that gave Kansas the lead for good. He finished with 23 points on 8 of 11 shooting. Crucially, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, including 2 big ones in the final 2 minutes. Also finished off a double-double with 10 rebounds and blocked 3 shots. None bigger than the one late when it was a 3-point game at 79-76. And Braden Burries tried to drive the lane. And that time, you saw what makes Bidunga the best defensive player in the country. He got the switch off a high screen, didn't ask for help, stayed on Burries. Burries tried to take him to the rim. Bidunga blocked the shot. Not only did he block the shot, he had the wherewithal to block it and tip it to a teammate. That's what separates a good defensive player from a great defensive player. Flory Bidunga was there tonight for the Kansas Jayhawks. You know who else was there tonight for the Jayhawks? Bryson Tiller. Another big game performance in this gym for Tiller, who had 18 points and 8 rebounds. 14 of those came in the first half when nothing was going right, when Bidunga looked a little bit overmatched, when Council couldn't get anything to fall. Trey White was a non-entity for his entire time on the floor, only played 25 minutes. They needed a lift, and Bryson Tiller gave it to him. Not dissimilar to the BYU game where he scored that career high 21 or 23 points, whatever it was. He was terrific in this game. And he found a way to help keep Kansas afloat in that first half, because Arizona came out firing, took an early 7-point lead, and you could have forgiven Kansas for finding out half an hour roughly before game time that Darryn Peterson wasn't going to play, for being a little off balance and being a little shaky early on. But Kansas stayed in the game for the entire first half, and it was because of the effort of Bryson Tiller. You know who else it was because of? Jamari McDowell. He was here tonight. Jamari McDowell finished with 10 points, 2 made threes. All of his scoring came in the first half. That's when they needed him. Again, rough night for Council, Nothing from White. Somebody had to step up. Somebody had to hit some big shots, make some effort plays. McDowell finished with 6 rebounds, and that's what McDowell did. It's always difficult when you're starting in place of a player as manifestly gifted as Darryn Peterson, especially when you are not as manifestly gifted. And Jamari McDowell is a fine basketball player, but he's nobody's idea of a lottery pick or number 1 draft pick. He didn't play like he felt like he had to be one tonight. He just filled in the gaps, spackled over the holes in the wall, gave Kansas what they needed in that first half. They didn't need the scoring from him in the second half because Bidunga and Council got active. But those 10 points and those 6 rebounds for Jamari McDowell were massive tonight. Those KU players were absolutely terrific, and they deserve all the credit in the world for finding a way to win this game against an Arizona team that, again, make no mistake, they are awesome. They're so good. Braden Burries, if you didn't know, now you know. That's a special player. That's maybe a lottery pick as a freshman. 25 points for him tonight on 9 of 18. Hit a cold-blooded 3 late in the game to cut it to 1 after KU had the 6-point lead and gave up the bucket, turned it over right away. Barry's hit the 3 to cut it to 1 and make it a little nervous here. But again, in that final sequence, Barry's was denied at the rim by Bidunga. Krivas, I mentioned, was really good. They're just so big. Koa Pete didn't play a great game. 6 points on 2 of 11 shooting. Appeared to maybe tweak an ankle or a quad in the second half. From my vantage point, I couldn't tell exactly what happened on that play, but he came out for a spell and really wasn't effective afterwards, even though he played 31 minutes. Arizona is so big. They made KU look physically small, and they make you earn every possession and every basket. And you do not beat Arizona under any circumstance, whether you're home or away, whether you're a top 10 team like Kansas is or whoever you are. You don't beat a team like Arizona unless you're tougher than a team like Arizona on a given night. It is hard as hell to out-tough Arizona. Ask everybody who's played them. They had beaten all comers. They were 10-0 in the Big 12, 23-0 overall. It doesn't happen by accident. They're good. And Kansas, shorthanded, didn't matter. This team continues to show they are one of the absolute toughest in America. And they showed it tonight in a major, major way. It was a remarkable performance for the Jayhawks, a remarkable night in this building in history. Again, Kansas has only ever beaten a number 1 ranked team in Lawrence once, the old Hoke Auditorium. I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. I wasn't alive in 1953 when Kansas beat then number 1 Kansas State. Man, what a world. 1953, Hoke Auditorium. This place was a hole in the ground. Not even that, I don't think. But it's first time for everything. Even for a place like Allen Fieldhouse, there's a first time for everything. Tonight, first time that the Jayhawks have beaten number 1 in this building. Bill Self would say after the game that Darryn Peterson was 50-50 yesterday. They weren't sure if he was going to be able to play or not, but didn't know until 7:30 or so tonight that he wasn't going to play. That's when people in the building found out. That's when I found out. Said it is not the flu, but it is flu-like symptoms, and that Peterson didn't even practice yesterday, which is interesting because he wasn't on the availability report. Typically, you got to be on that pregame availability report if you don't practice. So that's a little bit of a surprise there, and that might cost Kansas some bucks and a fine, but KU may be a little bit more prepared than you might have thought otherwise to not have had Peterson tonight. Bill Self able to confirm that. And I want to make one more point about Self. The way he responded to this game. I mean, you heard his quotes at the beginning of this video that this is maybe the best win in this building. That he doesn't know if the building's ever been better. After the game, after the handshakes, he shook the Arizona player's hand, shook the hand of Tommy Lloyd, and he turned to all 4 sides of this building where he's won so many games, coached so many great players, had so many great victories, and shook his fists all 4 sides of the arena. I've never seen him react like that. I asked CJ Moore, friend of the program, our college basketball insider. We'll talk to him on Thursday. I asked CJ as we were getting ready to wrap up the night. I said, have you ever seen Bill react like that to a win here? And he shook his head. That was different. This one meant something. This team, I think, means something, means a great deal to Bill Self, because Well, there's one thing, one word we know he loves to call a team when he doesn't feel like they're living up to a certain standard. You can call this Kansas team a lot of things, and you can say a lot about what has been a very strange season, full of the will he or won't he with their freshman star. But this Kansas team, they're not soft, not in the least. And they pull off a win tonight that will live in history at this historic building. That'll do it for me from here tonight. I got to get on the road back to Topeka, but I'll talk to you tomorrow from 3 until 6. We'll recap this game, and we'll talk to Michael Swain of Fog.net. He was here tonight, spoke with him a little bit at halftime of this game. We'll speak with Michael on tomorrow's show. We'll also have our NFL insider, Matt Verderam, join us a day late, but never a dollar short. Matt will join us to put a further bow on Super Bowl 60 and the 2025 NFL season. Hope you'll join me for 580 Sports Talk, 3 to 6 Central tomorrow on these same video channels, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9, and online at 580WIBW.com. They're picking up the trash. I don't want them to take me out with the trash, so I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great night. This has been a Jayhawk Instant Reaction on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel and WIBW News on Facebook. Have a great night.